So there is a two types of the sampling. So that two types of the sampling techniques that is being used. One is the grab, another is a composite. So third one is the integrated samples. So that is not which is required for the UG level. So only is two types of the samples which is sufficient. That is, one is grab sample, another is a composite sample. The two types of the sample is sufficient. So these graph samples are a single collected sample or a site or a short period of the time. So these type may be a few seconds or it may be a few minutes. That they represent the very both space and the type of the sampling. These samples are being taken in this selected location, and this depth and the time, the depth integrated the graph samples, whatever it has been collected, or a predetermined part of the water column, whatever the water columns are there, it is what the depth it has been earlier only it has been predetermined. Such a depth of the water column at a selected particular location in a given time, in the given time of the water bodies, the graph samples consisting of either only a single or it may be various samples which is collected over a period of the time should not be exceeded over the 15 minutes. So these graph samples should be a representation of the wastewater condition. So at the time of the sample collection, some of these whatever the samples are there, that depends upon the type and the number of the analysis which is being performed. Some samples can represent only for the compositions based on the time and the place of the locations or some place of the collections. However, some source whatever that is there, it is not a constant in the composition or a time, so substantial distance in all the directions. So then the sample may be represent to a larger time period and the larger volume also. So then the specific time and the place at which whatever it is been collected, in such cases the whatever the source may be sufficient for a single graph sample, or it may be multiple. Example, the whatever the groundwater supplies, water receives conventional treatment. Some well it may be mixed with the surface water also. In such case, that is very rarely the wastewater, whatever the wastewater stream is there, that will be mixed with the rivers or larger lakes or shorelines. So this, when this source is known to vary with the time, graph samples will be collected at a suitable intervals and which has been analyzed separately over extent and the frequency and the duration of these variations, that will be choose sampling intervals on the basis of the expected frequency of the changes. So the seasonal variation in the natural systems, that may be very necessity over the sampling over the months when these sources are maybe varies in the space, either the time and the collecting of the samples inappropriately. Next we'll go for the composite samples. These composite samples should provide more representation, so more representative samples of heterogeneous in the concentration for the analytics, for the analysis of the interest may vary over the short period. So another one is composite. So in this that whatever the interest the composite samples may be obtained, that is combined portion of the multiple graph samples may using the specifically designed automatic sample devices. So some composite samples are collected by using continuous constant sample pumping or mixing the equal water volumes collected regular time intervals. So flow proportion composites and collected over the continuous pumping at the rate which is been proportional to the flow by mixing the equal volumes of the water that has been collected at a time interval that is inversely proportional to the volume of the flow. by mixing the volume, water proportional to the flow collected during the, at the very regular intervals. So advantage of this composite samples that may be include the reduced cost of the analysis. The larger number of the samples may more representative samples of the heterogeneous matrices. So larger number of the samples and more representative samples, the amount of the test samples are very limited. The main disadvantage of this composite samples are the loss of a relationship in individual samples, the dilution of the below the detection level, the increase in the potential in the analysis, interference in the increased possibilities of the analytical interactions. So in addition to this, the composite samples may reduce the number of the samples below what is been required need for a whatever the specified data which is been quality objectives which is required. So they do not use the composite samples. So with the whatever the characteristics are there, that is being subjected to the significant and unavoidable changes during the storage. So analyzing the very individual samples that may be preferable to sampling point. So example, dissolved gases, the residual chlorine, soluble sulfide, temperature, pH, whatever the changes in the component. So the dissolved oxygen and carbon dioxide pH temperature may produce these secondary changes in the certain inorganic constitutions. So such iron, magnesium, alkalinity, hardness, some of the organics are analytic and analyze the may changes by changing the foregoing the components. So use of the time composite samples only it is to determining the components that can be very remaining the unchanges under the condition of the sample collections. So preservations, storage, and the collected individual portion of the wide mouth, the bottle, whatever every mouth of the is there, that is mixed at the end of the sampling period of the combine in the during the single bottle which is being collected. So whatever the preservatives, the some of the preservatives also can be used and that can be added to the sample bottle at the initial stage only, and so that the whatever the samples are there that it can be preserved and so as to be it can be collected. So whatever the composite sample that is been which is been running over the period for a month or weeks, that should undergo routine cleaning and container sample lines the minimal sample growth for the deposits. So that's about the composite sample.